Paul Bill Clinton, my friend. He's an extraordinary man. He's an extraordinary leader. And enjoy here! Thank you very much, Governor, Congressman Andrews, Mr. Speaker, Bishop Evans, members of the Senate and the Assembly, and candidates. Let me say to all of you, I'm glad to meet you. And say, I want you to know I'm here for 3 reasons. The first is I care a lot about the governor, and I care a lot about this state. New Jersey's been very good to me. I'm here because I want the President and our people in Congress to succeed in bringing this country back economically. And I know good and well, having been there, that there will be an uneven uptake of our economic program. And it matters what the governors do. It matters what the states do.
That's right.
It matters in terms of how fast America comes back. I'm here finally because for 12 years, whoever said I couldn't hold a job? For 12 years before I was elected president, I was a governor. And I took office in the teeth of a recession very much like this, not quite as severe, but very bad in the middle of the country in the early 80s. And I worked for 9 years solid to turn my state around. And when I ran for president in 92, and you all voted for me, we ranked first in the country in job growth. I know what a difference a governor makes to the people who live there. So it's important to the country. It's important to New Jersey. It is true that the governor is my friend, and I'd be here if none of this was true. But I want you to listen to me today, because there's no way he's not going to win this unless you don't get the message out about what's at stake, and we don't touch enough people and convince them it's worth going to vote.
That's right.
Now, I did a little research here. You know, I like facts. I remember once there was a book written on President Bush's administration, not too long after I left office, in which both I and my supporters and moderate Republicans like Secretary of State General Colin Powell and others were criticized. They said we lived in the reality-based world. And the Bush people said if we used our power right, we could change reality. We could ignore reality. We could make a new reality. So they asked me what I thought about that, and I said, man, I grew up in an alcoholic home. I spent my whole life trying to get into the reality-based world. I like it here. I intend to stay right here. I'm going to do this at every election. Let me read you something now. There are 2 things that get voters in trouble. One is when times are too good, and the other is when times are too bad. Because it makes you ignore reality. Mm-hmm. I mean, how did President Bush get into the Supreme Court in 2000 and win the election 5-4? Because he had that wonderful slogan, compassionate conservative, which was like a narcotic. It said, hey, I'll give you everything Bill Clinton did with a smaller government and a bigger tax cut. Wouldn't you like that? And people said, sounds good to me. Why? Because people took it for granted. They took the prosperity for granted. They took what we were doing for granted. Now here we have the reverse. How could this be a race? In normal times it wouldn't be. Now I did the research here. You heard the governor say that you had an 11% reduction in the number of people without health insurance. Well, there's been an explosion in increase in the number of people without insurance in the country. New Jersey ranks second in the country in improving the percentage of its people with health insurance. First in the country, and you added 100,000 kids. You rank first in the country in high school graduation rates, third in the country in closing achievement gaps between European American, Hispanic American, and African American school children in reading, third in the entire country. You rank second in the country in the development of clean energy jobs tied to solar and wind. First state in the country to have a governor propose a home mortgage relief program, and your mortgage foreclosure rate is a third less than the national average. You doubled the earned income tax credit and had a reduction in poverty of people in the workplace, and you became the second state in the country to have paid family leave. Now, and you were the first state in the country that actually started paying people to hire workers. And now there's a big article in the paper this week saying the President and the Congress have gone back to the drawing board to see what can be done to jumpstart more hiring. And guess what they said? I guess the number one thing we can do is give refundable tax credits to people for hiring new jobs, something John Corzine started doing in another way in Beacon County. If in the middle of an economic crisis, you got a governor who, in dealing with economics, healthcare, education, and energy, has put you first, second, or third among all 50 states in every relevant category, why are we having an election? Right? Plus, he's got an opponent that says that the solution to the healthcare crisis is to no longer mandate the New Jersey health policies give mammograms to women who are at risk of breast cancer, and no longer require an end to drive-by deliveries, which is something I put an end to in my second term. Now it's all coming back. So all he's doing out on the street after 24 hours actually have a baby.
Right.
So, I mean, we could go through a lot of these things that he said he would have turned down part of the stimulus, and we do not need to reinstitute the assault weapons ban. And it's interesting now, the Mexican government's trying so hard to keep cocaine from coming in across the Rio Grande River that they sent the army to northwest Mexico. And they're risking being killed because the narco traffickers are better armed than they are because they come across the border and buy 50 caliber rifles, which blow a hole in that wall there, and assault weapons. So in New Jersey, if these were the real choices in normal times, this would be a one-way election for the governor, wouldn't it?
Yes.
The only reason it's not a one-way election is people are hurting.
That's right.
So if he did something good, they figured he got a paycheck every 2 weeks, and that's more than a lot of them got. Right? They're hurting. And they figure, how could it be worse? Because I didn't have time. I was too busy looking for a job. I didn't have time to see whether we were doing better and all these things. And I don't really have time to think about what my his opponent's position is. I'm angry and I'm frustrated. This is tough. Throw the rascals out. Have I just about got it? Okay, now, first of all, the voters are never wrong. They're the bosses here. This is a hiring decision. But you got 2 weeks to make this not a close race. You have no doubt, do you, that if people were free, emotionally and intellectually free, to consider the differences in the records, the differences in the positions, and the differences in the plans, that the governor would win on a landslide. Don't you believe that? New Jersey's talked for a long time about whether to vote for Democrats. Keep in mind, I just won by 1% here in '92.